Welcome back to the Chelsea Blueprint. It's the morning after the night before, as it was. I've had some pretty horrible mornings after in my time, but this has got to be one of the tougher ones that I've been through. Chelsea 2, Leeds 2. Chelsea were 2-0 up thanks to goals from Joao Pedro, a beautiful one at that, and a penalty from Cole Palmer before throwing away the lead, as they did so many times under Enzo Maresca. I'm here, Sun Sports Lloyd Canfield, with Nina Hristova to dissect that game for you. Nina, you were there. What are your thoughts?
So disappointed, to be honest. It's like it feels like we've watched this game so many times where we look like we're in a comfortable lead and then we throw it away. This is arguably the easiest point we will give away. Leeds' goals literally on a silver plate. Like, you look at the needless penalty that Caicedo gave away. He wasn't even an opportunity where he was endangering us too much. Like, you could just time that tackle better, or maybe, count on your teammates to go in and cover that. But yeah, it really just shifted the momentum for Leeds because they looked like they had so much character, drive, hunger, and they were just going for another. Obviously, the crowds got behind them as well. It didn't help, and it felt like we just kind of capitulated after. There was a real shift, and the second goal. I mean, Lloyd, have you seen worse defending in a Premier League game than
Yeah,
that?
I mean, when that second goal went in, I actually messaged our group chat, our work group chat, and I just put, "Oh dear," and I followed it up with, "I think that's the worst goal I've seen Chelsea concede ever."
Ever.
And to be fair, one of the first responses was, "You've definitely never seen your team play in League One or League Two." But as someone who's from Northampton, I've been to see them play a few times, and I'm not sure I've seen worse defending there either. That is, the goal is ridiculous. Like, there's not only that. I mean, Josh Achimpong is probably the main one at fault for the goal, but there's 3 or 4 players involved that all should be doing better. Chalobah arguably should clear it at the first time of asking, but I think it's harsh probably to pin it on him as such. You've then got Moises Caicedo puts a foot in. He's perhaps a bit unlucky not to come away with the ball from that tackle, but then Joshua Chempong and Robert Sanchez. I mean, Robert Sanchez in that position has got to be. He's got to come and get the ball, and he's got to. If he doesn't come and get the ball, he's got to be communicating with Achimpong at the back to make sure that clear it. The thing I found the most frustrating, and I think Liam Rosenior echoed this as well, is that they obviously thought it was handball. Liam Rosenior's quite clearly said he thought it was handball, but they just stopped. They just gave up. At this point in the Premier League, the game, if the ref doesn't give something, you just play until the ball's out of
Yeah.
play, and then you can go to your VAR and complain about it. Kick it out and then complain. Don't stand there like a melon waiting for something to happen, and then the ball's in the back of the net, and you're left there thinking, oh, well, that will surely get ruled out, and then it doesn't. And this is where you end up. You drop another 2 points to Leeds. It's so frustrating. And you mentioned Caicedo. This is something I want to get your thoughts on, actually, Nina. Is Moises Caicedo? Obviously, we know he is one of the best midfield players in the world. There's no denying that. He's been absolutely excellent for Chelsea. But yesterday, I felt he was really disappointing. I actually don't think he's been too great the past few weeks. It's hard because he sets such a high standard for himself with how good he is normally. But I don't think he's been quite up to scratch the past few weeks, and it's something I think he needs to sort out.
Yeah, I think there's certain players we have, like Cole Palmer, Moises Caicedo, I'd put in the same bracket of they're so exceptional, we've seen such a high standard from them that they just automatically get held to that standard, right? And when you see games like you say that are a bit more underwhelming to their own standards, maybe like by another player in their position, it's just quite fine because they are that good. But when it is their own standards, it does look like a bit of a drop off. I don't think he underperformed against Leeds. I think some of the passes were still there. I think Andre Santos was maybe doing more though, and we saw more from Santos that we normally see from Caicedo. Maybe that's a positive actually, because we do need sort of another midfielder, and I think Santos obviously was involved in a lot of like line breaking passes. He obviously gave that ball to Palmer that eventually was assisted to Joao Pedro. I think, that pass at the end that Cole Palmer missed, literally a couple yards out, that was set up by Caicedo. It was a very intelligent pass. So potentially talking about him getting the assist of the night for the match
Yeah,
winner.
of the winning goal.
Exactly, and unfortunately, it wasn't meant to be for Palmer. But I understand what you mean. I think since maybe that red card that everyone talks about against Arsenal, there might have been a bit of a drop off. I do have a bit of an issue with his discipline as well lately, because some of his, I know that he can go in for a tackle that no other midfielder might be able to, but there is also a fine line between judging it and sometimes he doesn't, and he gets called a shin kicker, and that's sort of become a bit of a tag linked to his name. And I think sometimes he's a little bit too reckless and he's a bit too keen. I think there is still a level of, he is such a young player, right? And the more experience you gain, especially in the Premier League, the more you learn sort of which challenge to go in for and which one to maybe time better. And I think that will come with the years that go by. He's still so young. But no, I think Moy is still, he's still upholding a certain level. It's just maybe not that absolute monster of a midfielder that we've seen.
Yeah, he is like I said, he's one of the best midfield players in the world at the moment, and he is still playing to a very high standard. I do think it's just probably dropped a little bit. There are, though, at least from the Leeds game, it's not all bad. Obviously, the end result was bad. It was disappointing, very disappointing. But actually, I think for large parts of the game, and Rosenior agreed with me on this as well, is that we actually played really well. We played some really good football.
Yeah.
It looks as though he's not come in, and as we mentioned in Monday's episode, he's not come in and massively overhauled the team or made a massive statement in terms of how the team is playing. But I do think the team has improved in terms of the football they're playing on the pitch. And I think Leeds, until they threw the result away, they were playing some really good football. And Joao Pedro, Cole Palmer, that was looking like
The link up was great.
yeah, brilliant. And I've compared them a few times, maybe a bit too early on in their careers, to the likes of Drogba and Lampard. And in that, not in the sense that they're quite on that level yet in terms of quality, but in the kind of dynamic they've got between them, I think they can be really, really good for Chelsea. And I think if Chelsea had come away, if Palmer scores that chance at the end, we're having a completely different conversation here, because we'd be talking about, yes, Leeds came back from 2 goals down, but Chelsea found a way. That's the conversation we'd be having. And instead, it's a difference of a few inches, but it's a big difference. And that miss, it's so hard. It's one of them things. I still play football all the time, and I've missed that chance 100 times. But a player of Cole Palmer's quality, you expect that to hit the net, like Liam Rosenior said, 999 times out of 1,000.
Yeah. We were so unlucky though in that added time. Like, how many chances we had? Even Joao Pedro headed over
Hit the
from
bar.
Hato's cross at the far post, yeah, and it could have been a great finish as well. But it just seemed like we weren't lucky, but also I felt like it was damn right good punishment for the fact that we threw away that 2-0 lead. And
Yeah.
why are you in a position where you're looking for a last minute winner in 6 minutes of added time when you had a 2 cushion lead up against Leeds at home? By the way, it's unacceptable. And I said I sort of jumped to Cole Palmer's defence because I thought, yes, fine, you should put that away ultimately, but Cole Palmer was the reason we were in that 2-0 lead in the first place, right? He did his job. He assisted to Joao Pedro. He put his penalty away. What more could he have done? And he was still involved in trying to extend the lead as well. He was creating some nice opportunities. And yeah, of course, we're going to look to him and say, why did you miss that? But why was he in that position in the first place? His defenders let him down once again. There's only so much you
Yeah.
can do as an attacker. And I keep saying this, we can't outscore our opponents every time. It's not going to happen in that run you have coming up against Arsenal, Aston Villa, Newcastle, and those teams that you can't outscore them. You have to try and set up to not concede, and you have to be switched on from the whole 90 minutes. And Rosenior obviously would have spoken to you. You would have heard him say about the concentration levels throughout the game, and sort of those 6 minutes that he talked about where we conceded the 2 goals. Well, that's got to improve because it's happening way too much. And it was sort of like brewing to be punished for it. Because how many games, and we talked about it in Monday's episode, how many games are we going to say we've stumbled over the finish line and we've just about managed to get the result? It's not a sustainable way to play football, and we saw that yesterday.
I think the problem is we're at the moment, yes, we've been getting results in terms of, well, before last night at least, we've been getting results against these teams, but it's when you come to those Arsenals and teams like that, that's where it's the fine margins, but you get punished in those games for those
Yeah,
kind of errors.
yeah.
And before you know it, you're 2-3 nil down and you're really struggling. The last person I think I want to ask you about with regards to this Leeds game is Josh Acheampong, because we were speaking about him before the game, me and a few other reporters, and we were saying he's clearly a very, very talented defender. We're not sure he's quite ready to be starting Premier League games as centre back. Maybe as right back, you can get away with a bit more. You've got a bit more freedom, but I'm not sure at the heart of Chelsea's defence he's ready to be starting that level of game just yet. With a caveat to that, do you think it'll be Mamadou Sarr who comes in to partner Trevor Chalobah? I'm not sure why Fofana didn't start,
Mm.
but something for me needs to change about that defence with regards to Acheampong. I don't think he can start centre back going forwards.
Yeah, I know as much as the club maybe would have loved to believe that there's an internal solution to our defensive, frailties. I personally don't think that was ever the case. We should have gone out and signed an experienced centre back. It just is that simple. And I look at Josh and I think at the start of the season when we saw him feature, he had some cameos, and I thought he was our most promising centre back ahead of the seniors that are so called supposed to be better, have more experience. Obviously, Fofana wasn't available in a lot of those games, and you might argue that perhaps the best centre back pairing maybe has been Fofana and Chalobah in some of those games that we've seen them perform very well, but they're not always obviously like Fofana isn't obviously always available, right? He's in and out of lineups. You can't really build a solid sort of centre back pairing. Like, when are we going to have our Gabriel and Saliba? Do you know what I mean? It's like that whole situation of how are
Must be
you
nice.
sort of building this defence. Must be nice. I hate to pay Arsenal compliments, but it is true. It's so annoying to have that many rotations in your back line, and it's not even like you have a so-called strongest sort of defensive pick. But if I look at our other centre backs like Badiashile, Tosin, these aren't players I view as being sort of Chelsea kind of future
They're not
centre
good
backs that are
enough.
going to
Let's say it
around.
how
They're
it
not
is.
good
They're
enough.
not good enough.
Exactly. There you go. You're much more straight to the point than me, Lloyd. So I think when I look at ranking them where Josh fits, well, Josh isn't any like worse, if that makes sense. Like, I think Josh shows a lot of promise, and yes, he's inexperienced, but I think there's so many times where I would much rather, and we've all said it by the way, why don't we have Josh on here? Why isn't Josh playing today? So imagine how poor our sort of starting centre back duo has been, where we've often looked and said, play Josh. But the problem is at the end of the day that the quality in our back line isn't good enough. And I'm taking the fullbacks out of this. I mean, just purely like centre back
Yeah.
choices. And I always say this, I sound like a broken record, but you never replace the smidge of Thiago Silva, and it's really telling. How can you go and compete for a title if supposedly that was the whole thing we wanted to do this season when these are your centre back options? It's just that's just the reality.